hear me? Yes? Apologies for this, but I came here this morning without a presentation ready because I was asked to do the presentation as you were speaking. I only slept 5 hours, don't record that. So please bear with me. So my approach has been to do a presentation based on keywords. So this has been my understanding of this fantastic morning. This is what I've learned. Well, let's see if you agree with me. I think that the event keywords for me have been learn, share, and disseminate the project. This is what I've done during this morning. And if any of you has, learned, shared, and disseminate, well, in this case it was us disseminating the project, I think that was our whole purpose. When Tatiana talked about EASIT, I think that she talked mainly about users, how important users are. She talked about the concept of understanding. We want text to be easier to understand. Not only text, audiovisual. This is the new thing in EASIT. We want audiovisual content to be easy to understand. We talked about accessibility, but also about this universal design approach, so that all users should be able to understand content. More or less, yeah. And then we also talked about training, about skills, and about open access. So maybe those keywords are the ones that define, at this stage, the EASIT project. Åsa Wengerling, the keywords I would choose for her presentation are linguistic accessibility, how important that is. The concept of multimodality, it's not only text, there are many, many other elements that build up a content. That we are not all the same, that there are different users, and therefore there are different user needs. And also that the concept per se of plain language or easy to read is not static. There are different definitions, we see things differently. There is a need for research. There is research, but we need much, much more research to be able to make informed decisions, statements, comments. And I also, a keyword I would choose from her presentation is the concept of simple word, what a simple word is, and the importance of context, the importance of pictures to make a content comprehensible. What does comprehensible mean? That's something. I'm not going to give you, you were there listening. It's just, to wrap up and to remember a bit what we've been doing this morning. The importance of previous knowledge. So I was joking there having a coffee. I didn't know how the coffee machine worked. There were 5 people behind me. It took me 10 minutes. With the previous knowledge they acquired looking at me, I'm sure it took them, 30 seconds to get a coffee. And also about the language differences. So those were the keywords for Åsa presentation as far as I am concerned. When Mikael gave his presentation, for me, the concept here was online videos, how it is important to make them accessible. There is legislation. We have to make them accessible. And to make them accessible, planning is very, very important. We have to plan ahead and see how all those access services that he was mentioning should be integrated. There are 2 things. One thing is the video features, but then the player features. If we've got an accessible content, but we cannot have an accessible player, what's the point of it? We need content, video features, player features, and we had a demo in which personalization options are there. We continued with, I couldn't put all the names, so I put the surnames, Johansson and Hedberg's keywords. It was about the Understandable Text project. It is fantastic that we learn about other projects, and this is a word that we use they use in the European Union, we cross-fertilize, which means that we learn from one another. Persons, the people, were at the core of this project, and I love this term, co-creation methods. We talk to the users, we come up with proposals. We also incorporate research. Even if Esther was saying this is not a research project, they are using research methods. They are using eye tracking to get results and in the end create an evaluation protocol and identify 19 important issues with a prioritization. So this is important, and there was a lot of interest to replicate all this in other languages. Then it was the turn of the EASIT project, and Rocío Bernabé was talking about the work we've done under this block, which we call intellectual output too. It's not us who chose this terminology, it's the Erasmus Plus terminology. And Rocío has been talking about user-centric methods, wondering how to deal with different genres, defining the skills, discussing with the users through interviews and through focus groups or discussion groups about the skills these professionals should have, about the need to validate and how to validate that the content is easy to understand. We've talked with users about the need for a new name for these experts, and Rocío has proposed, based on the input from users, some recommendations on the easy to understand. Why did I put E to U with question marks? Because on Twitter someone was saying, is this very easy to understand? It's not. But what shall we do? Shall we write all the time easy to understand so we avoid acronyms? Will this become known enough? I'm open to all criticism. Let's discuss that. In any case, Rocío was talking about easy to understand subtitles, easy to understand audio description, easy to understand audiovisual journalistic content. Those are the keywords I take home from her talk. Jesus Meriño's keywords for me were the skills card, this concept we tried to clarify during the discussion, the different profiles. There could be more profiles, but in this project we had to focus on a few profiles. And since we come from the audiovisual world, we're interested in media access service in the audiovisual world. Those were the ones that we prioritized. He talked about different processes, about create, adapt, and validate. So what do we need to know when we create, adapt, and validate easy to understand audiovisual content? And the blocks that he was mentioning and that you've got on the skills card are media accessibility, easy to understand language, specific skills for each of the profiles, and then the personal and interpersonal skills. And we share this with you, we will put that online, and we need feedback. That's another keyword. But very early, please, because we've got to write the report next month, so we'll get this feedback soon. During the discussion, of course, I had to finish my presentation, so I probably missed the last keywords in the discussion. For me, it was, okay, the skills are for what? I hope I clarify with my answer. I think it's about open access. We want all this to be open access. If you actually go to the project website, all the reports that we have produced are there. They are not right now in easy to understand language. I admit that, because we have to produce a report to prove to the funding agency what we have done, but we have made an effort to keep it as plain as possible, and then we'll be disseminating in journal, newsletter, associations, etc., in different ways. It's about flexibility also. Oh, I repeated flexibility, that was at the end. It's also about written content, but also voice, and not focusing only on one language, but also on multilingualism. And I would add maybe that it's also about research, but this project, it's about training. So we'll have to focus on producing training materials, hoping that more and more research will be available, and maybe in the future we can have more projects related to research. To conclude, and going back to the beginning, for me the three main words in this event have been learn, share, and disseminate. It's not only been about the EASIT project, it's been about other projects. So I hope that you have all learned, I have learned, that we have shared. I think I have shared what we know, and other projects have shared. Disseminate is this concept of us showing, the project. A multiplier event is about dissemination. And I would like to finalize with a couple of keywords: follow and help. How can you follow and how can you help us? going to our webpage, which has been written in an easy-to-understand language validated by end users. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Email me, please, if you want to join our stakeholders list. What is it? It's a mailing list. I send 1 mail a month to, I will not be spamming you, but just sending, very relevant information and joining us in the future multiplier events. The most important keyword, thank you very much. And there you have the information. Thank you for coming. Give us your feedback.